This is HuffPost Live. I'm Josh Sepps. I'm here with Alicia Menendez. Welcome, Alicia. In his last major global speech before the November election, President Obama used the stage to appeal to a domestic audience just as much as the international crowd at the United Nations. Obama once again addressed the anti-American protests throughout the Middle East.
It is time to marginalize those who, even when not directly resorting to violence, use hatred of America or the West or Israel as the central organizing principle of politics.
Governor Romney also spoke on foreign policy yesterday at the Clinton Global Initiative in New York. He called for a rethinking of American foreign aid, to have aid tied more to free markets and to employment.
The aim of a much larger share of our aid must be the promotion of work and the fostering of free enterprise.
Romney was introduced by former President Bill Clinton, and it was funny. He joked about the bounce that Clinton has given Obama at the polls.
If there's one thing we've learned in this election season, by the way, it is that a few words from Bill Clinton can do a man a lot of good. All I got to do now is wait a couple of days for that bounce to happen.
Joining us to discuss the political stories and what's blowing up on Huffington Post in studio is the Reverend Jackson, civil rights activist, politician, Baptist minister. Welcome. The Romney campaign dismisses its recent wave of tough polls. Things are not going, all is not well in paradise, Reverend.
Well, in part because President Barack has a track record and Romney's running in his tracks, but his shoes are much smaller than the tracks are. It doesn't fit. When President Barack came in, we were in a real collapse. I mean, the automotive industry collapsed, the banking industry collapsed. We were 2 wars off budget and cut taxes we could not fund. And we are a real depression. Now, all the arrows are pointed upward. They're not as high as you want them to be. That's because the hole was so deep. We stopped the hemorrhaging, number one. There's been a steady rise of jobs, we've gone from losing 4 million jobs to creating 4.6, a swing of 8.6 million jobs, led by the Act for Women. 30 million more Americans have medical care today. Automotive industry is working 3 shifts in Ohio and in Illinois. 100,000 troops are home from Iraq, and so President Barack has a track record, and so far we have not seen the independent tracks by Romney and Ryan, except for the football game.
And the thing that makes me nervous looking at these polling numbers is the fact that these polling numbers are great. They show that there's definitely support for President Obama if everyone could get to the polls and vote.
That's the biggie. You could win the elections, win the debates, and lose the election based upon the level of shameless thievery. 1.1 million purged in Ohio. 1 million votes purged in Pennsylvania, 500,000 purged in Florida. The attempt to determine the outcome by purging voters and by voter suppression. All lawsuits have shown patterns of attempt to suppress the vote of seniors and blacks and browns and young people, so that the attempt to undermine our voting outcome by this thievery is a source of shame. Last week, we went to the Gambia. They had executed 9 people in the Gambia 2 weeks ago. We're going to execute 38 more. So we called and asked if we come to meet with President Jammeh. And he said yes, and to not kill any more until we could talk with him. He declared last Monday a moratorium on killing the 38. We were able to get 2 Americans who were in jail 20 years to life pardoned and bring them home from the Gambia. What we found is that our embassy was trying to get our Americans who were in jail out. But our domestic policy weakened our foreign moral authority. We couldn't make the case he shouldn't kill them because of sovereignty, because that's the case they make in Texas, Oklahoma, Georgia, Troy Davis. We couldn't make the case don't execute people because we execute most people. We couldn't make the case of don't lock up innocent people because we lock up them. Today's USA Today, the front page is how many innocents are walking out of jail in North Carolina without a place to go once they leave jail, so that our domestic behavior is undermining our moral authority around the world.